Welcome. Today's talk, from sickness to health. And as usual, I want to start with a couple of quotes. Ernest Holmes says, "We believe in the healing of the sick and control of conditions through the power of the mind." He goes on to say, if one wishes health, one must embody the idea of health. Dr. Phineas Quimby says, if the mind of a patient does not feel some confidence in the restorative powers of medicine taken, there is a probable chance that it would do the patient no good. So from sickness to health today, I want to speak about this marriage between the mind, the body, and our beliefs. And I want to make 3 points. The first one, you can transform your health through the power of the mind. Point number 2, you have the power to direct your mind. And number 3, your thoughts and beliefs influence your mind, which influences your health. Ernest Holmes believes, the founder of Science of Mind, that everything comes out of the mind. Your beingness, your emotions, your thoughts, your actions, all of it. I actually witnessed 5 years ago remarkable healing. I can still remember it like yesterday. I got the call from my brother and he said, if you're not here in 24 hours, Dad will be dead. It was a miracle. I got a flight from Colorado to get to Canada. I got it within 6 hours. I arrived. My dad was lying on the bed, 90 pounds of extra fluid because his kidneys had completely shut down. He had a count from his prostate to 1,000 instead of the normal 10. And like I said, his kidneys were shut down. His white blood count was so high, they thought he must have had some sort of a bone cancer. And on top of it, he had a needle in through his jugular where they were trying to drain the fluids. I was, in 72 hours, I witnessed a complete transformation of what appeared as outward conditions be transformed. The doctors came in the next morning. There were seven doctors. It was a teaching hospital. They looked at and they said, we would really like to use you as an example because you're probably going to be dead in 48 hours. Would you be all right with us using you as an example for our doctors here? He looked at them and I could just see the shock on his face. And as soon as they left, he said, honey, I'm going to get my kidneys working again. I'm going to beat this cancer. And you know what? I'm not dying in this bed. I'm going back to our hometown in Oshawa. You need to remember that I was the practitioner, thought minister. My dad knew nothing about science of mind principles, nothing. But innate in us is this belief. We know inside of us when we tune into it, there is a power in your mind, in my mind, in my dad's mind. And it told him that he was fully embodying that if he changed his, and that's what we believe in Science of Mind. You change your thoughts, you change your life. He was clearly doing that by believing in exactly that he would get healthy again. In that moment of crisis, I don't know how I'd be if 7 doctors told me I was going to die. If I would still rise up and say, you know what, you're wrong. I know I'm going to get well again. Well, the power of his mind, I'm happy to say 5 years later, he has a crew of 16. He's still moving houses and he's 78 years old. Just like Ernest had said, the healing of sickness and control of conditions through the power of the mind is possible. My point number 1, you can transform your health through the power of the mind. Point number 2, you have the power inside to direct your mind. And this influences your health and well-being. Just like my dad, I always remember when I have an outward appearance of a cough or a sickness. Well, 2 weeks ago, I had the appearance of my hip totally going out on me. And for 2 days, I limped around. I tried my usual. I tried yoga. I tried stretching. I tried walking. Nothing. So I went on to my next form of my plan B, which was yoga nidra. Now, I was very frustrated in this state because I realized that, like, for me to say that I was frustrated, I was actually pissed. I had a conference booked at the Utah the following week, Salt Lake City Centers for Spiritual Living Conference. And it was the first year I was going to show up as Reverend Jayne. It was important for me how I was going to show up. And part of me, my hip, I actually even wanted to wear heels. I was very frustrated by this hip. So I went into my yoga nidra. And that is where you go through scanning 61 points in the body. And they say it's equivalent for 40 minutes of yoga nidra is equivalent to 4 hours of sleep. I do it 4 times a week. I use Rod Strikers. Anyway, I was doing my yoga nidra, all my points, my mind became this relaxed slate. And in that state, I spoke to my mind because I know we have this power that we can use right here in our mind. So in this calm state, I asked, what are you trying to tell me, hip? And I got, you're afraid that you won't bring your hipness to the conference. Well, I'd had this acceptance issue my entire life that I was fundamentally flawed because I'm highly intuitive. And I've always wanted to be a charismatic and popular speaker. And I was obviously quite fearful about how my peers were going to see me showing up at this conference. But from this state of relaxation, clear slate, I was able to hear what my innate wisdom was trying to speak to me. And I could see my fear. So at that point, I went into prayer, spiritual mind treatment, which is part of Science of Mind, the spiritual mind treatment. I did a spiritual mind treatment, and the pain that had been there for 2 days disappeared. So let's review the results. So it took me totally relaxing. It took me listening to my hip for what it was trying to tell me, the fear that was associated. And then, and only then, from that calm state, I went into prayer from the relaxed state, and it dissolved my fear, and then my hip freed up. How could this work for you when you have outward conditions appearing as sickness in your body? Relax your body. And then speak to your mind. Ask it to give you insights. Allow the words of wisdom of the divine to come forward for you. And also from that same state is just as I had listened and you're relaxed and you allow that wisdom, your ailment that can then speak to what it's trying to, the wisdom it's trying to bring to you. I invite you, if you've got any ailment, to speak to these parts of yourself, which is point number 2. You have the power inside you to direct this mind. Number 3, thoughts and beliefs influence our mind. Just as Ernest Holmes said, everything comes out of the mind. Your entire being is your emotions, thoughts, actions, all of it. And Dr. Phineas Quimby believed this as well. He worked with hundreds of patients. He believed everything comes out of the mind. He goes on to say that if then the mind by external or internal influences has received impressions to destroy the health and vigor of the body, those impressions cannot be removed. And then the body follows the state of mind and readily submits, just like if my dad had submitted to the doctors. Dr. Phineas Quimby says, that is what we tend to do. Submit to it. He goes on to say, if the mind of the patient does not feel some confidence in the restorative powers of the medicine taken, there's a probable chance it will do the patient no good. I offer this statement as a testimony of the importance of monitoring our state of mind, our beliefs that are around our health. Do we just give in? 5 ways this could work for you is just as Ernest Holmes had said. If one wishes health, one must embody the idea of health. Or yoga nidra is another way. Totally relax the mind and body. Spiritual mind treatment was the 3rd one that I mentioned in affirmative prayer. 4th one is there's this breath count. It's very simple. You inhale 3, hold 3, exhale 3. And the 5th one would be any form of meditation that gets you at that calm state. Because Ernest Holmes in the Science of Mind totally believed that It may yet be proven that the mind completely controls the body, and the body is but a reflection of the mind. This is what I believe. Like, I don't know if you've witnessed complete miracles, like terminal illness gone, like my dad's. I know Mary Morrissey had a complete healing where she was on her deathbed, and they said they were going to take both kidneys in the morning. They sent the chaplain in. The chaplain said, would it be possible? She had gotten pregnant. Mary had gotten pregnant out of wedlock, and she had all this shame and blame because it was in the time when that was a really big deal. And the chaplain said, would it be possible that maybe all that shame and blame could just be in one kidney, not in both? The next morning, they only removed one kidney, and she still is alive, even though she was on her deathbed as well. So from sickness to health is a marriage between this mind, the body, and our beliefs. And as I said, I made 3 points. You can transform your health through the power of the mind. Also, you have the power inside you to direct the mind. Number 3, thoughts and beliefs influence our mind, which influences our health. To close, I just want to make 3 statements. If you could repeat them after me, just to really embody this. The power of the mind is my power. The power of the mind is my power. I choose health and vitality in my body today. I choose health and vitality in my body today. I see the perfection and wholeness that I am. I see the perfection and wholeness that I am. Thank you. I love you. Have a blessed day.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.